We are live. Welcome on board. Anybody who happens to be here, which it's pretty quiet, I must say. I think it's because it's Halloween night. I think a lot of people have got things going on. So it's not, usually if I put a live, and I've not been able to put anything on Twitter regarding the live stream because I'm banned from Twitter for a week and it doesn't get lifted till tomorrow. So some people who may usually see this link to the stream haven't seen it. But yeah, I just thought I'd jump on. I've done a live stream tonight with DT Halloween live watch along on his channel. So if anyone is interested, go and check that out. JT's Horror Discussions. And I just thought, you know what, I'm off work tomorrow, so I might just live stream for a bit on my channel. I haven't done a live stream since last Tuesday, I think. So I thought, why not? I'm off tomorrow. I might do a live stream tomorrow night as well. I'm not sure. I probably will, because it's quite late now. What's up, Ben? Yeah, I know what Ben looks like now. Just seeing his picture on Discord. So I got an idea, because that little tiny profile picture, which I'm not even entirely sure if that is Ben. I'm assuming it's Ben, but now I've got like a bigger picture to at least I know who I'm talking to. Yeah, so I just thought, you know what, do a bit of a live stream. I mean, it's not like much has happened, is it, in the last 24 hours? No major news in the horror sort of bubble sphere, so to speak. Well, maybe something, maybe a little bit of news about a certain franchise has dropped today, courtesy of Variety.com. I'm just gonna try and pull that up now. So, I mean, there's numerous articles about it, so I'm gonna just try and bring that up. Just have a little read through it. I'm not very well prepared for this at all, to be fair, but there's the original article. So let's go back to StreamYard. Is it present? Share screen, Chrome tab. That's the one we want. Share, and there we go. So I'm guessing this is sharing now. So Friday the 13th prequel series Crystal Lake from Brian Fuller ordered the Peacock. Now, okay, Peacock already, I've got my defense mechanism up well and truly, because Peacock has, I don't want to speak ill of, Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills, but Peacock wouldn't have been my first choice for this. I would have much. I mean, I don't even know if we can get Peacock in the UK. I'm not even entirely sure. I don't even know what the hell Peacock is. I don't know whether. I know you can get it in America, and I think you can get it in Australia. I'm not entirely, because the only time Peacock has come into my radar is through Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and both times I've watched these on the cinema, so I've never had to try and hunt down Peacock. I've no idea if you can get it in the UK or whether we simply get something. A Peacock use some sort of different method, and I have no idea. So the fact that Peacock are behind this kind of sets alarm bells ringing a little bit, because I'm not really down with them. And then, of course, we've got this prequel currently titled Crystal Lake. Now, Crystal Lake is quite an ambiguous title. It's the fact that it's a prequel obviously says to me it's set before 1980. It could even be set before the events of 1957, is it? When Jason drowns in the lake? I think it's... is it 57? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know when it says prequel. This is obviously... It's set before 1980. That much is clear. So, they say exact plot details are being kept under wraps. Let's just read through it. Exact plot details have been kept under wraps, although it is described as an expanded prequel. So obviously they're going to go into some depth with this, maybe expand more on what's been spoken about in the original movie. The show will be written by Brian Fuller, who is also the showrunner and executive producer. Victor Miller, who penned the original film in the franchise, will also executive produce along with Mark Toberoff, Rob Barzamian, and A24 are on board with this. So that's a bright, I would say a bright spot in this whole thing. I'm not up to this point. I'm not totally on board, but A24's involvement could be seen as a good thing. The fact that Victor Miller is obviously on board says to me, I mean, they haven't, from what I understand, Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham haven't ironed out anything completely yet. So I'm guessing that this isn't going to involve anything that Sean Cunningham has rights to, which would explain obviously this prequel origin story, because from what I understand, Sean Cunningham owns the rights to the mask, the name Friday the 13th, and I'm not entirely sure the whole Jason thing. Does he own adult Jason and Victor owns child Jason? It's very confusing. I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that Victor Miller's on board with this would explain a lot as to why they're going with this prequel route. Friday the 13th is one of the most iconic horror franchises in movie history, and we were dying to revisit the story with our upcoming drama series, Crystal Lake. We can't wait to get work with Brian Fuller, a gifted visionary creator who I had the pleasure of being a longtime friend and collaborator, along with our incredible partners at A24 in this updated version, Peacock, that will thrill long-standing fans of the franchise. Miller and Toberoff, his attorney, were previously involved in a lengthy court case in an attempt to obtain the rights to the original film's screenplay for Miller. This might go into some detail about what went down. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in Miller's favour in 2021, giving him the US rights to the screenplay. Miller and Toberoff have non-exclusive foreign rights as well, and by bringing Barzamian, the project has access to all of the other rounds for the films. This is very confusing for me. I'm not a lawyer. So the project has access to all of the other elements from the films. But when it says other elements, what does that mean? Fuller is known for creating or co-creating shows like Hannibal, which is a good sign, Pushing Daisies, Dead Like Me, and American Gods. I discovered the Friday the 13th in the pages of Famous Monsters magazine when I was 10 years old, and I have been thinking about this story ever since. Fuller said. He's probably lying. He's probably just saying that to big up the story. When it comes to horror, A24 raises the bar and pushes the envelope, and I'm thrilled to be exploring the campgrounds of Crystal Lake under their banner. And Susan Rovner is simply the best at what she does. It's a pleasure and an honor to be working with her again. The original Friday the 13th released in 1980. In that film, Jason is a child who drowns in Camp Crystal Lake. His death leads to his mother, Pamela, to seek revenge against the council she blames for her son's death. Okay, so yeah, so what can we take from that? Basically, yeah, it definitely looks like we're looking at something that is gonna be set in. Are we gonna go back to the Jason starting at summer camp and being bullied and showing a young Mrs. Voorhees? I mean, you can't go back any further than that. So I'm guessing that's where we're gonna have to be, right? Let me just, while I've been doing that, the chat has been, all right, okay, hang on. Let me just end that. I'm back screen again. What's up, Griff? Hello, Jamie, Ben. Hello, Jamie. What's up, Jamie? Yeah, Ben's in the chat as well. Big T, what's up, man? It's good up. Happy Halloween. It's actually over now in the UK. It's actually the 1st of November now, so yeah, Halloween is all it's Christmas. It's all focuses on Christmas now. So Halloween ended yesterday here, technically. So now it's kind of like the build to Christmas. So we're gonna get. So is it wrong to watch Christmas films in November? I don't think it is, because I've got a lot of catching up to do with a lot of these Christmas movies which I've never seen. A lot of the really bad ones. So I need an extra month just to catch up with these movies. Um, Peacock is NBC, I think, says Jamie. I just don't know how that relates to the UK, and I don't know who is responsible for Peacock in the UK. I don't know who's showing it. I don't know who showed Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills in the UK. No idea. Went to see the movies on the cinema, and that's the only thing I've ever watched from Peacock. Um, but obviously, with this TV show, that's going to be something that someone in the UK is going to have to show it. What video games have you been playing? Oh, Jamie. Okay, so that's one aimed at Jamie. American Gods is very good. Crispin Glover is a boss. I've not seen American Gods. I know there's a book series about it, but I've never seen the TV show. But the fact that the guy from Hannibal's on board with this kind of leads me to think that this is potentially they're taking it seriously. This is not something that it's just going to be a cash grab. Victor Miller's looking for like a quick buck. Hopefully, you've got some like talented people on board, and A24's involvement. I'm not entirely sure what their involvement is, so to speak. How much they are involved in it. But hopefully, they're pretty hands-on with this, because if A24 are involved, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be of some quality. They've never really dropped the ball too much. Most of the stuff they're involved in is usually pretty damn good. So Ben says, I like the American Gods, but only watched season 1. Jamie says, probably not. It looks like it's set in space. Oh, okay. That's nothing to do with that's my video games, I think. Jamie says, you can watch Christmas movies whenever you want, Mike. Well, it's funny. I think you probably got it in the States as well. There's like a TV show, a TV station that we've got here, and it's literally like it just plays like those Hallmark Christmas movies on a loop, 24/7, every day of the year. Non-stop, even in the middle of summer. So yeah, you've got a point, I suppose. I suppose I could just watch them anytime I wanted to. The only law that needs to be passed through legislation, says Big T, is that you can't start playing Christmas music until the day of Thanksgiving, especially Mariah Carey. Oh yeah, that fucking song, man. Oh god. Griff says, looks to be more of a brawl than a shooter. Yeah, they're just talking video games. So yeah, so basically, yeah, Friday the 13th is looking like Crystal Lake is obviously something that is happening. I'm looking forward to seeing people's reactions to it, in the next few days, few weeks. Obviously, it's going to be dropping in. I'm assuming it's going to be dropping in 2023. Now, if Victor Miller is doing this, does that mean that Sean Cunningham could get involved in something similar with what he's got the rights to? I mean, it only makes sense, right? I mean, it's such a convoluted, confusing mess, the whole right situation with the two guys involved. It's so it's hard to like separate one from the other, because they are so intertwined. Jason with the mask and Jason without the mask, and Camp Crystal Lake, Friday the 13th with Jason, without Jason. It's just so you just wish these two guys would just get the shit together and just come to an agreement and just take a paycheck off somebody who can just unite everything. It's just frustrating, really is. But it is what it is. So we will see. So yeah, I kind of came into this blind. So I kind of like was going to talk about Friday the 13th. So what have you guys been up to tonight over the last few days? You know, watched any good movies? Been trick or treating with the kids, or had trick or treaters at your door? You know, I imagine it's still quite well. I suppose it's getting on quite late now in the state. Well, certainly on the East Coast. So I suppose trick or treaters are dying down now. I suppose it's getting on for like for 10:15, 9. But it's only 4 hours now because we had our daylight savings Saturday night, so we are only 4 hours ahead of the East Coast now. But I know that it only lasts for a few more days, and then your clock go back, so it's back to 5 hours again. Big T says, "You seen Barbarian?" I did see Barbarian. I saw it the other day, and I was really, really impressed with it. I might as well talk about that movie for a bit. I might as well spoil it as well. So, if you've not seen the film, you know, cover your ears maybe, or just turn off. Although probably I'd rather you didn't turn off because that means I've lost a viewer. But I really like Barbarian. I love the premise of it. I don't want to go into too much detail because I did want to try and keep this for like a separate video. Well, not really a separate video, but with like a one-on-one discussion with like some of the other people in the community like JT and whatnot. But so Griff hasn't seen the film. Yeah, so I mean, the whole setup of it is quite interesting. It's like obviously you've got like this setup of an Airbnb, where I've never used it, but I know it's very common in like big cities and stuff, and certainly places like it's very popular in like London and obviously like New York, Paris, probably like these like major massive cities where a lot of tourism occurs. And obviously, you've got the girl turns up and there's a guy there who's already booked in for this Airbnb, and there's a bit of confusion. And obviously, she thinks, well, I've booked it. He says, I've booked it, and he offers it to stay the night. One of the issues, one of the first issues, I do like the film. One of the issues that I would have with the film is that if you're going to stay in an Airbnb, in an area you don't know, you're going to do a little bit of research, maybe go on Google Maps, go on Street View, see what the place is like. And she arrives in the dark, so she can't really see what's going on, but it's fucking rough as hell. This is like Detroit. So even I know Detroit isn't probably not the greatest place in the world in terms of like dodgy areas. And she turns up in the middle of the night. Then the next day she gets up and it's just like everywhere's boarded up. It's the only house in the street which is actually functional is the house she's staying in. And I'm thinking, like, how is that possible? How did you not know this before you like booked into this house? I mean, did you not do any research? But as it goes, she they sort out the differences. She agrees to stay, he agrees to like let her in, and obviously you've got this issue now where she doesn't quite trust the guy because she's a young woman and he's a young guy, and like she's not entirely sure whether he's legit. It's spending a night with a complete stranger, and he's a little bit off. There's something about him which is not quite doesn't quite tick all the boxes. But she gets on with it, and a few things happen during the night which get you thinking, well, this guy is there's something about this guy that's not quite right, and gets you to thinking that going forward that this film is going to be something to do with him, something to do with this house, and she's going to be like the innocent victim of something. And it doesn't really play out like that. I mean, obviously I say I will go into spoilers with this film, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. So this guy who's played by Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård. Yeah, he's a perfectly innocent victim of all this. It's more about the house and the past of the house. And I won't say any more than that. But yeah, Bill Skarsgård is completely innocent victim. But it subverts your expectations a few times. This film, it turns things on. It does a 180 quite a few times. So that's the thing I really enjoyed about the movie. You know, it gets to a point and just does a 180 and totally switches things around. Then half an hour later, it switches things around again and takes you from a new point of view. And it was quite refreshing to see that. I will say, and I won't go into any more detail, is early on in the movie, she goes into the cellar and you see a room, and I thought this was going to be darker than what it was. When you see the setup of this room, without going into any detail, I thought this was going to be on a slightly darker note. I'm not saying it's more fantastical, and that's all I'll say than what I was expecting, and maybe what I was hoping for. I was expecting something a little bit more grounded in realism than what we got. And I was perfectly okay with what they went with, but I just kind of like wanted something a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, especially with that sort of like real urban, nasty sort of setup that they got going with that like urban Detroit sort of like desolation. But I mean I will say this film, comparing it to like a couple of films I've seen this year, comparing it to The Black Phone, this film fucking pisses over The Black Phone. The Black Phone for me, because I'm trying to, for me, it's got similar, of the movies that came out this year, The Black Phone kind of sits in the same ballpark for me as Barbarian. And this film, way better than Black Phone for me. Way better than Black Phone. I thought Black Phone was massively overrated. But yeah, that's. I probably will go into more detail about Barbarian in another video, maybe tomorrow actually. Because I've got want to do a little bit of a breakdown about some of the newer films I've seen. But man, yeah, I mean, really enjoyable. And Justin Long, man, Justin Long, barely aged since he was in Jeepers Creepers. He's barely changed at all. And he's great in it. Justin Long is really good in this film. He kind of reminds me of like a younger Robert Downey Jr. He's kind of got he's got like these quirks to him. He's really likable. He's kind of like it's hard to describe, but he's kind of got the ticks and the quirks of Robert Downey Jr. and really likable personality. And he's the sort of like, I thought if he bulked up a little bit, he could play like a younger Iron Man in the MCU. Just playing Robert Downey Jr. Basically, I just really like him. I've always liked him since Jeepers Creepers, and it's good to see that he's still getting good roles in the genre. But anyway, let's go back to the chat. Jamie says, "I never get trick or treaters. I live in the sticks." I imagine living in the sticks Halloween night could be pretty terrifying. It's not too bad where I am because it's like it's just like freaking. Well, I'd rather not live. I'd rather live in the sticks, to be fair, but I don't. So, but it's like just like streets after streets after streets after streets after streets for like fucking 10 miles. But yeah, you do get trick or treaters, but we just don't decorate the house, so they don't tend to bother us. But I can imagine living in the sticks, Halloween night. It'd be good to get a few horror movies on. Nobody around, but it would be a bit freaky if like you just started hearing noises outside and shit. Griff says, I finally watched Inferno by Argento and I enjoyed it. I wish the film focused on the sister more than the brother. Bro was a plank of wood. I watched Inferno about 6 months ago, and it just left me cold a little. I mean, I do like Argento. I mean, I love Suspiria, and I did like oh my god, Tenebrae. But this film was it went over my head a little bit. It went over my head a bit too out there for me. I like my movies a bit more grounded in reality. But yeah, I mean, visually it's great, but just on every other level for me, it just didn't hit the mark at all. Jamie says, "Have you?" Oh, so Jamie's having video game conversations with Griff. So um, Griff watched The Fan with Lauren Bacall. Oh, I like The Fan. I was gonna say love. I like The Fan. We're not matching up tonight with the films, are we, Griff? Because like you like The Fair, no, I didn't like it. I like The Fan. I think it's a great one too with Fade to Black. You know, Fade to Black and The Fan, both I think 1980, 81, both like disenfranchised young men who just like lose the plot slightly and just have obsessive personalities. I just think as a back to back, watching their movies back to back is it's like a great double header. But I really like The Fan. Yeah, young Michael Biehn in that film as well. Really young Michael Biehn. What movies are your must watches on Halloween? Well, Halloween 2. I mean, I can't really fit on Halloween itself. The day, then I can literally only fit like maybe 1-2 movies in. I got just on a 12-hour shift, so I literally came in and did a live stream with JT watching Halloween. You know, if it'd been off today, it probably would have been Halloween 1, Halloween 2, maybe Hellfest. I'm probably Ghost Watch as well if I could. Well, still waiting for the Blu-ray to drop. So when the Blu-ray drops, that'll certainly be getting watched next year. But yeah, definitely Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Ghost Watch certainly would be must watch. Yeah, Griff is still talking about video games, so I can't really get involved in that conversation because I don't know jack shit about video games. So Ben says I mix old school movies like Halloween 3 with new ones like Trick or Treat and The Barn. I've not seen The Barn. I tried to watch it a couple of years ago, and I kind of got put off by it. It just looked really cheap, so it kind of put me off, and I just turned it off after the first 5 minutes. I probably do need to revisit it, you know, because I know a lot of people really like that film, but I suppose I just need to get past the, you know, I know it is a cheaper movie. What's up, Jess? Jess is in the chat. Happy Halloween, Mike. Thank you, Jess. Big T says we're definitely going to get a prequel, Mike, with the amount of sex the movie's had. It's kind of inevitable at this point. We'll mostly likely get a sequel too. Are we talking about Barbarian? I'm assuming because obviously they in Barbarian they show like, you know, a scene from like 20-30 years before. With Richard Brake, is it? You know, the guy from Free from Hell. Yeah, I think obviously you're referring to Barbarian. I've seen a lot of people mention the fact that, you know, this movie could create like, you know, a few spin-offs. Griff says Happy Halloween, Jess. Seems to you, man. Jamie says last night I watched Halloween 3 while I carved a pumpkin. Then I watched Hellfest. Tonight I still haven't decided. Yeah, I love Hellfest, man. I love Hellfest. I love the I love the final scene in Hellfest is so good because it's just so, you know, it's not a shocking scene by any. It just completely take it builds up to something and you think, oh, this is going down a dark place, and then he's just a dad, you know, he's just a dad with kids, and he just likes to go to extreme haunted house attractions and just like kill people. It's just such a like it's like the normality of what's there's a saying, the banality of evil, where it's like evil isn't this kind of like crazy, it's not like crazy terrifier shit. And I'm not really think it's referred to Hellfest, but it's kind of like, you know, it is just like usually just a guy, a normal guy with kids and a wife and a family who just happens to do evil things. It's not a guy in a clown costume who is just, completely batshit insane, who just kills people. And then, it's that sort of thing which I like about Hellfest, because it's kind of set up as a guy who is an unhinged psychopath who's carving people up. But at the end of the day, he is just a guy who goes back to his house and goes back to being a father and a husband. I'm assuming probably a husband as well. And that's all the more terrifying in a way, because that is basically what most serial killers are. They're just normal fellas with kids. A lot of the times got a wife. Okay, a lot of the time they are single losers as well. But Griff says, I don't blame you, Mike. It was not a super accessible film. Yeah, it certainly wasn't for me. Oh, what's up, Jonathan? Happy Halloween, Mike. Thank you, man. Happy Halloween to you as well. I'm thinking the Firefly trilogy. Yeah, I mean, I thought Flee from Hell got like a real bad rep. I actually thought that was quite an enjoyable movie. I do prefer the first two films, to be fair. I think Devil's Rejects is like his best film. And I like House of a Thousand Corpses a lot. I think Flee from Hell it's not perfect, but that's the thing about Zombie though. I don't like Zombie. This is what got me a fucking ban on Twitter for 7 days for saying that I didn't like the fact that Zombie made Michael white trash. I like Zombie doing white trash movies where it fits. It didn't fit in the Halloween franchise for me, so that's why I had an issue with Zombies Halloween movies. I think 2 is better than 1. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But I just didn't. It just didn't sit right with me. The whole setup of just Mike explaining too much about Michael as a character as well, showing him as a kid, showing he basically fucked up and got fucked up because he had bad parents, which is like 99.9% of every other like serial killer on the planet. Anybody pretty much who fucks up in life in terms of like going off the rails and like killing people, 99.9% of the time it's come from having bad parents who didn't know how to raise the kids, and so they just go off the rails and do stupid shit. Most kids, if they've got good parents who raised them well, don't do this sort of shit. So that was the great thing about the original Halloween movies. Like Michael was the product of, we can only assume, good parents in a good neighborhood, good upbringing, and he just snapped and did what he did with the zombie, movies. They just went way too much in depth about how he was just raised badly by scumbag parents, and that kind of set him on the path to where it led him to. So it takes away any mystique that Michael had. So yeah, I mean that's why I can never really be on board with the zombie movies. They always leave me cold. What's up, Chess? Nice to see you on board. How's things going tonight? I'm just saying hello. Griff says the fan was okay, good acting, but for me it was just a standard thriller. I did get a good laugh with Michael Biehn's character called his boss Hitler. I just love that 80s. I just love that time of movies from like the very late 70s to very early 80s, especially movies set around like, because I think the fan was set in New York, right? Because the fan was set in New York, and the other movie I mentioned briefly then, Dressed to, is it Dressed to Kill? Did I say Dressed to Kill? I think it's Dressed to Kill. That's set in LA, so you kind of got this East Coast West Coast thing going on, but it's like it's that same time period, so very gritty, very grimy, and I love that the aesthetic of the late 70s, early 80s in movies, whether it's New York, London, Los Angeles. It feels a lot dirtier. You can almost like feel it on your skin. It's dirty. It's nasty. There's prostitutes everywhere. There's pimps everywhere. It's just there's smoke coming out everywhere of the grids. It just got that feel. And those two films, it wasn't Dressed to Kill. What Fade to Black? Sorry, not Dressed to Kill. Dressed to Kill is another early 80s movie, great movie. Fade to Black. Sorry. So Fade to Black is a LA movie, and The Fan is a New York movie. But both 80, 81, that gritty, grimy period of big city life at that time. It just really, really looks good on screen, and we've kind of lost a lot with modern movies. You don't get that now. And I just, it's like films like Blowout with John Travolta. I think that was set in Philly. So I love Philly as well. I love those Philly movies from the late 70s, like Rocky, and early 80s. It just looks, grimy as hell, man. But just things like scenes like Blowout, where just John Travolta's just smoking in the hospital. It's just like, just the good old days when you could go into a hospital and just smoke a cigarette, like as if that would be acceptable now. It's just I just love it, man. It's just so good watching these old movies. And because we're never going to get those days back. So I'm not saying it was good to smoke in hospitals. I just like to reminisce about a simpler time. Let's see what people are saying. Griff says, I wouldn't mind rewatching Hellfest. Been a while since I watched it. Hello, Chess and John. What's up, Chess? He's just him that shit is 10 on a different level. Yeah. Mike, is that a Sony TV behind you? No, it's a really, really shitty TV called the Technica. Like a really, really bad brand. It's like a cheap version of a better brand. That is I've got a PS3, a PS4, and an Xbox One behind me, but they're not mine. I don't play video games. I used to, but not anymore. It's been a good few years since I played video games. But yeah, there's a there's literally like 3 different consoles behind me, but I don't play any of them. Dressed to Kill is great. I love the film. I get mixed because obviously Dressed to Kill is another early 80s movie. Obviously, if that time period, it just that is like, you put that as a trilogy of movies. Fade to Black, Dressed to Kill, and The Fan. Put them together. That's like a great triple bill right there. Michael, you and JT possibly doing a top 10 2022 movie list at the end of the year. I don't see why not, man. I'm always up for suggestions. Definitely. I'm always looking for like ways of creating new content. Probably, I mean, it's been a good year for horror, like really has, and just horror especially. I don't think it's been a great year for like blockbuster. I mean, blockbuster movies. What in terms of like, I up till a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, I was enjoying like the MCU and the DCU and what they were putting out, but it's really fell off a cliff now with the MCU. It's just fell off a cliff big time. I probably will try and check out Black Adam at some point because I've heard it's actually a decent movie if you just like turn your brain off, and the critics hate it, which is always like promising. Because if the critics if Rotten Tomatoes are hating something and the fans are loving it, then to me that's a sign that's a decent movie. If Rotten Tomatoes love something like the critics, then I'm like, no, this is probably going to be complete shit. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, horror has had a pretty good resurgence this year, I would say. Not that it ever really fell off a cliff at any point in the last 25 years. It's been on a pretty I think it's been pretty solid ship. You know, I don't think we've seen a slump anything like what we got in the early 90s since 96. I think it's been pretty good all, you know, consistently. But we've had good years, we've had really good years, and we've had the years where we're just average, but no terrible years. But I would say 2022 has been like pretty damn good so far. Obviously, you've had, you know, from the off, I mean, Scream 5 wasn't great. I mean, but you know, it wasn't terrible, and it was a Scream movie. So I suppose I should be grateful for that, because for all its faults, I am still a sucker for a Scream movie. I mean, you know, I do like the Scream movies, no matter how bad they get. It's just one of those things. Scream 3 was pretty bad, but I can still watch it. Chainsaw Massacre movie was just a blast. And I'm not like the biggest fan of the Chainsaw franchise. I love the first film. I love the remake. I actually like 3D. Um, I'm not a fan of the beginning from like 2006, was it? Obviously, 3 is not great, from 1990. Next Generation, I've never even seen it. 2, I don't like. I know a lot of people love 2. It's not really my thing. But yeah, this Chainsaw Massacre movie from this year, I thought was just a good time. It just did everything that like I wanted out of a remake or like a sequel. You know, like it didn't take itself too seriously. It was you know, a ruthless Leatherface. You know, really ruthless. Great kills, fantastic kills, and you know, I suppose one of the downsides is that there wasn't really a protagonist I was kind of really on board with. They were all like slightly annoying. Usually, it's kind of like, you know, you get your bitch, you know, the slut character who's like you want to see die. You get your jock character. This was kind of like there was not really anybody who I was kind of really on board with. The final girl was, for me, wasn't really that likable as a character. But it is what it is. But I mean, you know, like I say, the bus sequence was great. The mechanic guy, his death was just brutal. And obviously the final kill at the end, you know, the final sort of almost like jump scare at the end was just like so good. Really, really, really enjoyable. And just the way they bring in like modern technology as well, you know, the self-driving car as she's driving off and she's just staring out of the car through the roof rack or through through the roof of the car, and she's not even driving the car and it's just driving away because it's like a self-driving car. Um, it's not without its flaws. The whole idea of like gentrifying a rural village town in the middle of nowhere with no public access, no trains, no bus service was a bit stupid. I'm not entirely sure what they were thinking of for that, but I mean, like I say, I did really enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and clearly they're not gonna let this one go. They're gonna go forward with another movie. Will probably be a direct sequel to this one. Jess says, doing well, Mike, having a good day. Great. Chris says, Jessica's great. I love that film, doing most of films. I've read that comment, haven't I think. Big T says, I suffer from such comic book fatigue that I'll be watching the movies, but it's not a priority anymore to see it opening week. Yeah. What else have we had this year in terms of horror movies? I've watched a shit ton, but I can't remember. Oh, obviously we've had Texas Chainsaw, we had Scream 5. You know what? I've watched them all, but I can't remember any of them. So I'm just going to remind myself what's been out. Okay, so so Nope obviously dropped this year. Nope was a no from me. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like Jordan Peele's kind of like he's living on a reputation of like this like edgy like filmmaker who's like, you know, making really, really interesting movies. And I think he did it with the first two films. This film for me was just wasn't all that. I mean, I was kind of waiting for something to develop and waiting for something to kick in, and all I got was like a really, really unconvincing like third act with really, really bad CGI and a really, really meh sort of like alien type thing. It just didn't work for me at all, and I really like the female lead in the film. I thought she was great. The guy who was in Get Out just kind of like mumbled his way through the film. I wasn't really on board with him at all. I like the tech guy as well. I mean, I thought he brought something to the film, but it just did nothing for me. I thought it was probably 20 minutes too long, and I was just like, what if this had been any other director, this probably would have maybe got more criticism than what it did. But Jordan Peele, for me, kind of feels like it's almost like he's untouchable at the minute. You can't really, he's beyond criticism, and I don't really know why. It's strange. It's like everybody's scared to like criticize anything he does. But for me, he's kind of like he's running parallel a little bit with M Night Shyamalan. Because I think if he's not careful, he could end up going down that path of, you know, maybe believing his own hype. I mean, M Night Shyamalan loved the first two movies. I do like Signs. Signs is kind of similar to Nope in a way. um, although Signs is a better film than Nope by far, I think. Um, but I think he does want to be careful. Jordan Peele, he's not all that, if, in my opinion, certainly based on Nope anyway. But you know, Hollywood keeps on sucking his dick and saying he's great, and so I don't know. I just think it's the next movie for him could be make or break. It really could. I just think he needs to move. I understand this doesn't really go into the whole race thing too much, but it always feels like there's this elements bubbling under the surface regarding race with us. And I get it with the first two films, but with Nope, you don't really need that at all. And it's not really there. It's not really prevalent, but you always feel like there's just this undercurrent of, you know, messaging going on. And I just think, you know, he needs to sort of like move on now and just really double down on just making like great content without really force feeding any sort of like messaging to everybody. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap things up now because it's 5 to 2 UK time. I probably will just live stream tomorrow and like go into more detail about a lot of the movies I have watched, because I really want to go into like more into Terrifier 2 and stuff like that. Maybe bring a couple of people on board. But I don't really want to like waffle on all night for too long, because it is just like I've been live streaming now for like on JT's channel and my channel, getting on for like 3 hours, so I'm just getting a bit tired. And I was live streaming last night as well on JT's channel. So obviously, thank you for jumping on board, guys. I know it's Halloween night, so I know a lot of you are probably quite busy doing other things, and I know a lot of people are live streaming tonight as well. So probably there's probably a lot of choice in terms of YouTube channels to jump on tonight. So for people who did jump on, thank you very much. Big T, thank you, man. Griff. Griff, if you want to jump on, Griff, if I go live tomorrow night, man, if you want to jump on board, man, jump on board, because I haven't spoke to you for a while. So, you know, if you want to jump on, man, jump on, because it's always nice to catch up with you. We seem to do it every like month or two. So if you want to jump on, man, I'll put the link out for you, and you can jump on. Chess, thank you very much. Jamie, Ben, Jonathan, Jess was on board as well, and obviously I know DJ was on board early on as well. I think I've covered all bases there. But yeah, thank you guys. I'll probably be live tomorrow night anyway. So yeah, so okay, good man. I'll send the link out to you on Twitter tomorrow night. It'll probably be about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. If that's good for you. So yeah, be live again tomorrow night, guys. I'll probably go into more detail about some of the movies from this year. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.